News Talk 820 WBAP now on FM at 93.3. Make it a preset, y'all. 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. I'm extremely proud and happy to be the first local show here on WBAP to share your reaction and my reaction to Joe Biden's big boy press conference. Big boy press. You're a big boy. Yes. Oh, I'm so proud. You give me Joe. Joe, you answered all the questions. Oh, Joe. So he actually did a lot of. There's no such thing as a gaffe with this man because what happens when you are neurologically damaged and you have a disease? Does it go back? Does it get better? No, it gets worse. This man has Parkinson's, according to many experts and others. This man has dementia, perhaps. It's probably Parkinson's is what a lot of people are saying. Maybe he has Alzheimer's. Here's the thing. Everything you read from anybody that is worth a lick of salt or an expert in this, any medical center, this is a progressive disease. It never gets better. So the idea that this is somehow going to get better is laughing stock. Now, tonight he obviously did something different. He was probably on something. We talked about this before. I think it was either Ronnie Jackson or Dr. Marty Makary, both physicians, who said, Marty Makary with Johns Hopkins, Jackson, Congressman Jackson, former three president doctor at the White House, including former President Hussein Obama, and probably getting something like an ADHD medication like my son is on, like my daughter's tried. I could qualify for it as ADHD dude, but I don't because it just doesn't work with me. I don't need it, in my opinion. Maybe some would say you do, Chris, and you need it a lot. Either way, it gives you hyper-focus and it gives you energy. Yes, I believe he did something of that nature tonight. And can I tell you something? I am glad he did for his failure to communicate or have any logical discussions half the time. I'm glad he did good or did well, or he did the goodest today. He did the goodest he's done in a while. He did the goodest. Oh, Joe, we really are so proud of you. You did the goodest job of anyone.
Oh, Hercules.
Where'd you work out? My little baby. Come here, little baby Joe. Big boy conference. I'm proud of you. Okay. I'll play some audio in a sec. There's a bunch, but do you think that Joe Biden was on something tonight? And are you glad that he actually did better tonight, the goodest, so that we can keep him as the candidate for the fall against Trump? And how do you think the president did today at this big boy press conference? Did he save his job? Was it good enough for you? Do you think it puts Democrats and people's fears to rest? Guess what I just heard about 2 minutes ago on Fake News CNN? Liberal Democrat from Tennessee, Steve Cohen, said, he was the one that said when they walked out of that meeting, the House meeting on Tuesday morning, and people were crying, people were visibly shaken, people were depressed. So all sorts of things they reported in the Politico and Axios on that Tuesday morning congressional huddle, where they said we're going to lose 20 seats, we're going to lose the election, and people were literally crying. Steve Cohen walked out of that meeting. I played you the audio, and he said, they said, are you on the same page? He goes, we're not even on the same book. We're not even in the same book. Moments ago, he just said on Fake News CNN, he did a great job. He has restored my confidence. He has done it. Yes, to which I say, yes. Yes, I want this man to run against President Trump. The ads have already been made. Do you understand? The ads have already been made. All you got to do is take the headlines from the New York Times, the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, the Chicago Tribune, George Clooney, everybody saying he's done. He's a disaster. He needs to get out. And then play the audio of these Democrats panicking and freaking and of Jake Tapper mocking him. and of CNN quoting the quote I played for you last night, saying that Joe Biden says, no, he was at the fundraiser 3 hours longer than George Clooney. He has more stamina than George Clooney. Clearly, always good to attack George Clooney. 3 weeks after he did a fundraiser raising $30 million for it. Always good to attack him. And by the way, George Clooney lied to those people, stole their money, and should give it back. All right, my questions are there. I gave them to you. I'll give them again in a sec, but our number is 800-288-WBAP, 800-288-9227. Chime in right now. Lines wide open. Your reaction. You could be the first one to react to what we just saw in that press conference or heard on News Talk 820 WBAP and now on FM at 93.3. 800-288-WBAP. Chime in right now. 800-288-9227. Let's start playing some of these press conference clips from Joe Biden just in the past couple hours here.
Presidency is the most straining job in the world, and it's 24/7. How can you say you'll be up for that next year, in 2 years, in 4 years, given the limits you've acknowledged that you have today?
The limits I've acknowledged I have?
There's been reporting that you've acknowledged that you need to go to bed earlier and your evening around 8.
That's not true. Look.
The press is all lying. He doesn't only work from 8 to 4. That's all lies. This is the New York Times et al. No, this is not true. No. They're lying. Cackling Kamala, if she was there on stage, she'd be, Joe doesn't go to bed at 8. Everybody knows it's 8:20. He's having his glass of warm milk at 8 o'clock in his jams.
What I said was, instead of my every day starting at 7 and going to bed at midnight, it'd be smarter for me to pace myself a little more. And I said, for example, the 8, 7, 6 stuff, instead of starting a fundraiser at 9 o'clock, start at 8 o'clock.
He can do a big boy fundraiser. It just needs to be earlier than the rest of the other presidents, than all of them in history. He just needs earlier ones, guys. And remember what Karine Jean-Pierre said a day or two ago? She said if the call comes in at 11 when Joe's asleep for a nuclear war being launched against us, somebody will handle it, and somebody will handle it that's unelected, some unknown person that's running the actual country from 11 or 8 p.m. till 6 a.m., and don't worry about it. Joe will handle it at 8 in the morning. It'll be fine. We'll be 9 hours into a nuclear holocaust, but Joe will be handling it 9 hours later, guys. Everything's fine.
We get to go home by 10 o'clock. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about. And if you look at my schedule since I made that stupid mistake in the campaign in the debate.
Yeah, it was a stupid mistake. Can you believe it? He did 90 minutes of stupid mistakes. Have you ever seen a 90-minute long continuous stupid mistake? Some could say this whole show for 4 hours every night is a stupid mistake. I don't know. I would think you would say it's a series of stupid mistakes, one after the other for 4 hours. In this case, it would be a series of stupid mistakes for an hour and a half. No, Joe says it's one. 90 minutes of not knowing who or what's going on or where you are or what your name is or what your job is or what's going on here. Why am I not in bed? 90 minutes is one mistake, guys.
I mean, my schedule has been full bore. I've done, where's Trump been? Riding around in his golf cart, filming.
This is great. Wait till you hear what he says. He says he gets tens of thousands of people at crowds, which he actually clearly is watching Trump's crowds with 30, 40, 50, 60,000 at Florida the other day and thinking it's his rally.
Not a scorecard before he hits the ball. I mean, look, he's done virtually nothing. And I have, I don't know how many, don't hold me to it, roughly 20 major events. Someone with thousands of people showing up. And so I just think it's better. I always have an inclination, whether I was playing sports or doing politics, just to keep going, not stop. I just got to just pace myself a little more.
Slow down is what he was going to say. The president of the United States needs to pace himself. We all know that. Because the world can be paced. You can put things on hold, right? And we just had a Chinese Navy vessel. You can see it from the Alaskan coast. That just happened. A Chinese naval vessel Okay, nowhere near China, right by us. Not in the South China Sea, right by us. Joe's got it. China, stay there. Don't move. Keep that balloon next time. Float it out there for a few days. I'll handle it. I got to pace myself. All good, right? All good.
Pace myself. In the next debate, I'm not going to be traveling in the 15 time zones a week before. Anyway, that's what it was about. That's what it was about. And by the way, even with that, I love my staff. But they add things all the time. At the very end, I'm catching hell from my wife.
He's not in charge. His staff is, and they keep making him do things that he doesn't want to do. He's not in control. So it's not his fault. It's his staff's fault. Yes, that makes sense. He's not the commander-in-chief. They don't work at his pleasure. He can't fire him in a nanosecond for no reason whatsoever. No, they tell him what to do, and it's their fault. That's what it is. That's what it is. There you go, guys. Does this not sound like a great press conference? All right, lines wide open. Your reaction, Joe Biden's press conference, did he do it? Did he convince you that he's going to be okay? That he can run for 4 more years? Was it good enough for you? Do you think it put Democrats and people's fears to rest? How do you think he did tonight on his press conference, his big boy press conference? Are you glad that he did better tonight than at the debate with Trump so that we can keep him as the candidate so he can get his butt kicked by Trump? And do you think he was on something tonight? 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. Oh my gosh, he did 2 over the top, ridiculous, embarrassing errors to which his cabinet members and top staff were wincing in real time on camera. That's on my Twitter feed. You can see it for yourself. Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Chris Kroc Show. That's at Chris Kroc Show, ChrisKrok. You hear the 2 massive cognitive impairment speaking issues tonight and much more. Plus your call, 800-288-WBAP. Here's more from Joe Biden's press conference. This is going to be great.
And now I want to hand it over to the president of Ukraine, who has as much courage as he has determination. Ladies and gentlemen, President Putin. President Putin. He's going to beat President Putin. President Zelensky.
No, Joe, you're right. It's President Putin. Yes, Joe. It is me, Vladimir Putin. I am in charge of the Ukraine. No, it is not called Ukraine. It's the Ukraine. I am Putin. I am in charge. You give me more money. There is a beautiful picture I just retweeted of Vice President Trump and President Putin. You might think it's cackling Kamala and Zelensky, but it's actually Vice President Trump and President Putin. That's amazing. They're strong figures, those two. Let me play one more.
We've had some discussions over the past few days.
Before I do that, I want to play this one.
And now,
here we go.
What concerns do you have about Vice President Harris's ability to beat Donald Trump if she were at the top of the ticket?
Look, I wouldn't have picked Vice President Trump to be vice president, but I think she was not qualified to be president.
President Trump is a she, and she is actually President Trump is actually Vice President Trump, and he's on the Democrat ticket with Joe. So if Joe does step down, Trump will be the president. Sounds great to me. All right, what do you think? How did he do? Do you think he was on something tonight at his big boy press conference? Are you glad that he did better tonight so that we can keep him as the candidate for the fall against Trump, as I am? Ho, ho, ho. Did he save his job tonight? Was it good enough for you? Do you think it puts Democrats and people's fears to rest? Of course not. I want to read my buddy Eric Erickson's tweet moments ago. Biden is truthfully doing better than he did with Stephanopoulos. Yep. VP Trump, quote unquote, still sharper, louder, and more coherent. That's a problem for the Democrats. Yes, because this means they're not going to get rid of him. This is beautiful. Greg in Frisco, you've called in at 8:20 a.m. and now 93.3 FM. By the way, our number 800-288-WBAP, 800-288-9227. Everybody should chime in right now. We got 4 lines open. WBAP, Greg, Frisco, how are you?
Hey, doing great. I just thought you didn't make the comparison. This guy's reading the names of reporters. They're all sitting nice and quiet. I just wanted you to remember the comparison when Trump would have a press conference. 16 people are screaming at once. They're breathless. They're out of their minds. And then here you have this, Bill from Reuters, and he knows what he's going to ask, and then he's been preparing. I can't believe it's so elementary. That's all.
Yes. He was reading their names and stuff. Trump would just go, you. He would point to them. He'd just go, you. I mean, I think he would say their names too, but regardless, he would just point to them and randomly and say, okay, you, not you. You are too, whatever, fake news, whatever, he'd pick on them or have fun with them. So yeah, absolutely. But Joe, did you hear that Joe Biden is now also, it's not, he hasn't doing this now. It's been happening. Every one of his cabinet meetings that he has, and he hasn't had since October, by the way, of last year, a cabinet meeting in 9 months. Gosh, that's crazy, isn't it? 9 months he hasn't had a cabinet meeting. But when he has them, all the cabinet members that want to ask him questions have to write their questions out and get them pre-screened. The entire cabinet meeting is scripted ahead of time. I'm not making this up. It was in the Politico, or I think it was in the Politico today, so or New York Times, one of those two. And it's literally like even his Oval Office meetings with his cabinet are scripted. Pretty cool.
Yeah, it tells you everything.
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, this man wants to know. Trump is a fool. He doesn't know what he's going to say. He just walks in. No, Biden's got everything written for him. He's a smart guy. He knows what's going to happen, everything, what they're going to ask him, what he's going to say before the meeting starts. What a great, smart guy.
He's doing gooder.
Yeah, he's doing gooder. Yes, he is doing gooder. I'm glad you noticed that, Greg. Thank you for your call. It was the bestest. All right. 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. We do have that special number up temporarily for the next hour, 1-800-GOODER. That's 800-GOODER as well, in honor of the president tonight and his awesome performance at the debate. The press conference. Let's listen to another piece of audio.
We've had some discussions over the past few days with your press secretary about the question of health exams, and you said you take a cognitive test every day in this job. Are you open to taking another physical or test before the election? Governor Whitmer of Michigan, for instance, said it wouldn't hurt to take a test.
This guy is I can't use the word I want to say. He's a wimp. You know why? Because he's not saying a cognitive test. A physical, he says. A test, he says. He says Governor Whitmer, Greedy Gretchen last night on fake news CNN from Michigan, she said it wouldn't hurt if he took a cognitive test. This guy says it wouldn't hurt if he took a test. A test? What do you mean? Joe, do you know your ABCs? Joe, can you count 1, 2, 3? A test? This guy's a joke and he's a disgrace. You can hear his Canadian accent. He surrenders before he asks the question. I can't say the word, but you know what it is.
Well, look, two things. One, I've taken 3.
Let me pause it. We're going to continue with his answer right there coming up next. Plus your call, your reaction. Do you think Joe Biden was on something tonight at his press conference, which is so funny to say, but it's true. And are you glad he did better tonight so that we can keep him as the candidate for the fall against Trump and Democrats won't shove him out now, which is beautiful. How do you think the president did today at his big boy press conference? Did he save his job? Was it good enough for you? Do you think it puts Democrats and people's fears to rest? 800-288-WBAP, 800-288-9227 on News Talk 820 WBAP and now on FM at 93.3.
Well, look, two things. One, I've taken 3 significant and intense neurological exams by a neurologist. In each case, as recent as February. And they say I'm in good shape, okay? Although I do have a little problem with my left foot because it's not as sensitive because I broke my foot and didn't wear the boot. But I'm good. I'm tested every single day about my neurological capacity to decisions I make every day. You talk to my staff, all of you talk to my staff. Sometimes my staff talks a lot. I am not opposed if my doctors tell me I should have another neurological exam. I'll do it.
What do you think? How did he do tonight at his big boy press conference? Do you think he was on something tonight? I sure do. Some kind of an ADHD stimulant. Are you glad that he did better tonight? The bestest, or gooder, I should say. Are you glad that he did gooder tonight so that we can keep him as the candidate for the fall against Donald J. Trump? Can you imagine the ads with that? You just take the headlines of George Clooney, of the New York Times, of the Chicago Tribune, the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, all demanding that Joe Biden steps down. You play audio cuts of the top Democrats or reports of top Democrats literally saying, or like Nancy Pelosi saying, it's his choice if he should step down. And others saying we're not even on the same book, or, he has cognitive issues, he needs to step down, whatever, all that stuff. They're beautiful. And you take clips of, what's his name, from Stephen Colbert saying he's got a worm in his brain, and mocking the president with his intelligence and his senility. The ads write themselves, and you can play that for 3 months. 2 months. We want this guy to be the candidate. He ain't going nowhere tonight. He is not going anywhere. Anybody here, my colleagues, think he's going to get out? No way. No way. Absolutely not. 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. I've got a bunch more pieces of audio from the president's Big Boy press conference where he did the goodest he's done so far, and that's good for us. In the meantime, look at this. Look at this. You want to see this? This is where I regale in this. I'm like a little child grinning. This is from Breitbart. Well, actually, this is from the New York Times. AIDS advisors determining ways to convince Joe Biden to quit. His aides and advisors are figuring out how can we get him to quit. New York Times says they have to make the case to the president. He cannot win against Trump. They have to persuade him to believe other candidates like Kamala can beat Trump. They have to assure Biden that he would transition to Kathleen Campbell would be orderly and not devolve into chaos. Biden campaign, meanwhile, conducting a survey. Look at this. Biden's own campaign right now is conducting a survey to see what Vice President Kamala Harris versus Trump, who would be a better candidate. His own freaking campaign is doing numbers, running numbers on who would win if it's Kamala versus Trump. Here's the NBC News. Today, several of Joe Biden's closest allies, including those directly involved with efforts to reelect him, told NBC News they now see his chances of winning at 0. 0! Yes! Oh my gosh, yes!
0.0.
You can do it! Joe, you can do it.
You can do it!
Yes! Joe, you got this. You got this, man. Joe, you got this. Hashtag you got this. Hashtag we got this. Joe, you're in. Rich in Richland Hills. You're on WBAP. Hello, Rich in Richland Hills.
I was super amazed that he made it almost an hour. And I hope he stays in the race so Trump can beat him in November.
So you want him to be the candidate, and you're very happy they did the goodest today.
Yeah, he did. He didn't. Well, I wouldn't say good. I say
no.
Fair.
The goodest.
Yeah.
Use his words.
The goodest.
Yeah,
That's right.
He did the goodest tonight.
The goodest. Yeah, he did the goodest that he could tonight, and I think that we are in good shape for November. We just need to get everybody out registered to vote.
Yes, and people need to early vote. They need to mail in ballots. Trump's saying that too. Whatever as early as you can, get it in, because that's their game, and we have to beat them at their game. Appreciate your call.
Absolutely, too big to Rick. All right.
By the way, do you think he was on something?
Always.
Yeah.
Always think that he's on something because he's being treated for whatever it is that hit.
Alzheimer's, or no, I'm sorry, Parkinson's is. It's pretty clear to me.
Without diagnosing it, I've actually worked with old people and taken care of old people, and he has got an issue, and I'm sure he's being treated for it.
Sir, they are not old people. That is offensive. They are people of age.
Yeah, and I'm one too. I'm 70. I guess I qualify too.
I'm joking. Thanks, Rich. Appreciate you. 800-288-WBAP is our number. 800-288-9227. Oh, let's play another Joe Biden gem from tonight in his press conference.
Our military is where I'm following the advice of my commander-in-chief, the chief of staff of the military. Can you name me somebody who's gotten more major piece of legislation passed in 3.5 years? I created 2,000 jobs this last week. Today,
Joe created 2,000 jobs in an hour. Now, did you know that almost all those jobs are part-time jobs? And that very few of them are actually full-time jobs? And that it's government spending that's funding most of these jobs? And do you know that most of a tremendous amount of jobs, Zero Hedge did a column breaking it down on a lion's share, at least half or more of those jobs are from illegals. Joe Biden's illegals are getting the jobs, part-time, etc. Scott in Fort Worth, you're on WBAP. What do you got?
Well, I heard you talk about Biden rarely holds staff meetings with his cabinet, and when he does it scripted, and I'm thinking, well, that's really alarming because I was a staff officer in the Army at battalion level, and I can tell you that the battalion commander.
My dad was a battalion commander, by the way.
Yes, every week it was combat arms or field artillery. So every week the battalion commander holds a staff meeting with his S1 through S4 and the XO and the principal officers. And they each have their jobs and their duties, and things get hashed out at a weekly meeting. Now, the cabinet, as you know, the cabinet is the president's principal officers.
Yes.
His principal advisors. And if there's anybody that needs good advice, it's Joe Biden. And if he's not speaking freely,
he needs the goodest advice. He needs the goodest advice.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
You can't even run a battalion without good advice. How are you going to run the whole country if you're not meeting with your principal staff?
You're saying you can't get the goodest advice when it's all scripted because it's like he has to know, as I told you, his cabinet has, in the last cabinet meeting he had was 9 months ago, which is stunning to me. Yeah. But they're all scripted out. The questions are submitted in advance by his cabinet people, and he has his answers. It's all scripted, the whole thing. So you're saying that can't be the place, can't be the way, because it's not free flow to get into the details of issues that come up naturally in discussion and say, well, you can't fix the problem.
You can't run a government like that.
Correct.
Not effectively.
Correct. Okay. Totally agree. Thank you very much. And I'm proud to say my dad was a military police battalion commander. Okay. We got more on this. I'm going to share with you next. You're going to hear more about how these insiders are literally saying that he has no chance, not any 0% chance, zero chance of winning. His advisors, his staff, all of them are saying that, according to NBC News tonight. I have from CNN a lengthy piece about angry and stunned Democrats are blaming Biden's closest advisors for shielding him. Sealing him in a hermetically sealed bubble is what Axios says, buttressing the CNN lengthy piece I'll be sharing with you. Some of the headlines are, let's see here, you ready? My favorite ones. We all noticed it, quote unquote. And eyes on Jill, not a Dr. Jill, or you might want to call her Nurse Jill too, like I do. Nurse Jill is really running the show. It's crazy. It's incredible. How do you think Joe Biden did at his big boy conference tonight? Did he do gooder? And do you think he was on something tonight to make him do a decent job, other than calling Zelensky, Putin, and Kamala Harris Trump? How do you think the president did today at his big boy press conference? Did he save his job? Was it good enough for you? Do you think it actually puts Democrats and people's fears to rest? Aren't you glad that this night he was proven enough, and therefore he'll be the candidate so we can whoop his butt? All right, John in Prosper, you're coming up next on the Chris Kroc Show right out of the box. Do not go anywhere, my friend. Plus your call, 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. Chris Kroc Show on WBAP.
With that, I'll take your questions. I've been given a list of people to call on here. I wouldn't have picked Vice President Trump to be vice president, so I think she's not qualified to be president. I love my staff, but they add things all the time. At the very end, I'm catching hell from my wife for that. Anyway, I'm following the advice of my commander-in-chief, my the chief of staff of the military, as well as the Secretary of Defense and our intelligence people, where the access to that market was enticing enough to get companies to come in because they had access to over 1 billion people in the market, not 1 billion, but a lot of people in the market. And so they were doing it. We're sitting around. This is where Kamala's so good as well. We're sitting around. More children are killed by the bullet than any other cause of death. The United States of America. What the hell are we doing? What are we doing?
You earlier explained confidence in your vice president.
Yes.
If your team came back and showed you data that she would fare better against former President Donald Trump, would you reconsider your decision to stay in the race?
No, unless they came back and said, there's no way you can win. Me. No one's saying that. No poll says that.
Mr. President,
okay.
This ends tonight's press conference. Thanks, everybody.
Oh, and he's got a crap-eating grin on his face. How did he do tonight? Did he save his job? Was it good enough for you? Do you think he was on drugs? Should I do this show like this every night? Does this creep you out? I'm getting creeped out just talking to you like this. But then again, I don't sniff little girls' hair. Ooh. 800-288-WBAP is our number. This is such an awesome joke. This is the 4-month-long Hindenburg that I've told you about. We're watching slowly implode and explode and fall to the ground. It's just beautiful. I love this. I love this. And he's not going to get out. How did he do? Was he on medication? Do you think this he saved himself tonight? Did he do the goodest? 800-288-WBAP is our number. 800-288-9227. John and Prosper. Hi, WBAP.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
You're welcome.
My comment is this. This press conference was a disaster, but not for the reason that people are talking about.
Okay.
It was all going along fine as somebody that was praying that he did well enough to squash the calls for him to be removed.
Yes!
Okay?
Yes!
Until the end. When the reporter asked him if the delegates are free to vote their conscience, would he support that? And he agreed to it. That is opening the door for them to be able to replace them and blame it on the delegates. And it goes hand in hand with the last part that you just played about them talking about if the polls
for Kamala. I was just going to say that. Yes.
This is what they're setting up. They need to convince the American people that it is not only plausible but likely that Kamala can beat Trump. That sets up the steal in November. That's what's really going on here.
What do you mean? How
That's
so?
That's why they have to get rid of Biden.
How
they
so?
Can't convince the American people that he actually won.
How would it be a steal if he gets
Kamala.
out? How would it be a steal if he gets out?
There's no doubt.
But how would it be a steal if he gets out and she goes in? It's not stealing if he lets it.
No, I'm talking about the election.
Well, how do you steal it?
They have to convince the American people that Kamala winning
but that's
is
not stealing
only plausible, it's likely.
Yeah, but that's not stealing. That's just because you said steal. That's all. I was like, how would they be stealing? I got it. I got you, though. Thank you for your call, and I agree. Your brilliant analysis there. Hank in Parker Heights, you're on WBAP. Thanks for listening.
Wonderful, Chris. Thanks for taking my call. But to the question, President Biden didn't make the mark tonight. You know, he's digging himself deeper in the hole, and the Democrats are going to dump him in a heartbeat.
But he ain't going to let him. He literally kicked butt and took names in his eyes and in Nurse Jill's eyes.
Hey, that's what you listen to, you know, canned questions, a teleprompter put up there, 5 minutes before, he took the stage to make his...
The questions I do not think were canned at all. In fact, I'm going to get into coming up next how viscerally the disdain is for the press against him now in a interesting piece from Axios. I got to roll, Hank, but thank you for your call. I'm sorry, I got to roll. Apologize, brother. But keep calling in for another topic another time, brother. I'm sorry I had to let you go. All right, up next, I'm going to share with you how Axios reports that the disdain the press has for Joe is worse than you might think. They are not scripting anything with him anymore. They're not covering for him anymore. They're angry, and it's personal. I'll get into that coming up next. And a lot more from CNN about angry and stunned Democrats blame Biden, his closest advisors, for shielding him from the public and the full extent of the president's decline. That is next, and more debate, press conference highlights from Joey's special Big Boy presser coming up next on the Chris Crock Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3.